It's very nice to see you again, Takashi.
いつもものすごく知的な刺激をもらってます。また今回もとんでもない体験をさせてもらいました。
Thank you. Thank you very much.
今回はものすごく知的好奇心をものすごく刺激されたということと、ものすごいショッキングでした。で同時にやっぱりパンドラの箱を開けてしまった人間がどのような思いになっていくかっていうことと、やっぱ彼がどういう社会的な立ち位置になっていったかってことをものすごく時系列をこう組み替えながら、そういうすごいハードなテーマなんだけどエンターテインメントになっているところがすごく面白かったですね。素晴らしい作品だなというふうに思いました。で希望は人間の上に落とすべきじゃないって言ってる人たちもすごくたくさんいたっていうこと、あとやっぱり核兵器のおかげで戦争が終わりましたっていうことに対してものすごい喜んでる人たちの姿っていうのはやっぱり僕らが見るとものすごくショッキングだし、でもその中でオッペンハイマーがものすごい残酷な幻影を見るっていう、なんだろうな、ものすごい栄光とものすごく悲惨な状況が同時に同じフレームの中に収められてるっていう作り方がすごく面白かったですね。
Well, thank you. I think when you talk about Pandora's box, that's exactly, for me, the interesting part of the story is looking at these very brilliant people who were able to make incredible creative leaps forward in terms of their understanding of the world and what could be done with technology, and then to have that have such awful implications. It's that contrast that I was interested in trying to project in the film and really try and make the audience feel it. Because the thing that I found shocking about the story was to realize that these were not naive scientists who didn't understand what they were putting into the world. They were very bright people who could probably see a lot of the very dark implications of their work, but they felt, because of the circumstances of the time, that they had to do what they needed to do, and that tension I found very shocking and very involving, and I really wanted the audience to experience that. I watched Godzilla -1 and I thought it was a tremendous film. I thought it was so exciting. I mean, obviously it's beautifully made. The mechanics of it are so involving. It's so exciting, but it also, I felt like it had a lot of the spirit of your earlier film, The Eternal Zero. It had a depth around the issues surrounding the main story, even though the main story is Godzilla, and is an entertainment and an exciting one. There was also wonderful depth to the characters and a wonderful sense of history that I really appreciated. So.
こういう今の時代にかなりセンシティブなこの内容を作品にしようと思った理由っていうのは何なんでしょうというのは、おそらく計画されていた時には世の中こうなってなかったと思うんですけど、映画が出来上がって公開する頃に全くタイミングを合わせるかのように世の中が非常に戦争がすごく起き始めてるっていう、このなんか時代が映画とすごくマッチした感じがするんですけど、なぜ映画を作ろうと思ったのかっていうことをちょっと知りたいなと思います。
My original interest in the story was the sheer drama of various aspects of the story. In particular, I had been very struck by this knowledge that in the lead up to Trinity, the scientists couldn't completely eliminate the possibility of literally destroying the world when they triggered the device, and yet they went ahead and took that step forward. And that seemed to me an extraordinarily dramatic situation. It was actually one that I had referred to in my previous film, Tenet, because it had really struck me. And when I told one of my teenage sons about the project I was engaged with, he actually said to me, well, is that something that young people really care about? Do they really worry about nuclear weapons anymore? And unfortunately for the world, in the couple of years between him making that remark and me finishing the film, the global situation had deteriorated once again to a point where a lot of people are very concerned about this very dark subject. And I think that's very indicative of our relationship with the fear of nuclear Armageddon, that it rises and falls with the geopolitical situation. And I think that's very wrong. I think it's something that we have to be constantly mindful of. And I actually believe that my film ends with a dramatically necessary moment of despair. But I think in the real world, there's much that can and has been done by individuals and organizations about trying to get rid of nuclear weapons, trying to reduce the number of nuclear weapons and make the world safer. And so I think in the real world, the appropriate response is not despair. The appropriate response is activism and trying to pressure governments and politicians to reduce the number of nuclear weapons in the world. But I did not make the film to bring attention to those things. I think if the success of the film puts it back in people's minds, I think that's a good thing. But the truth is, I'm only ever drawn to make a film for the drama of the story and how involved and important I feel the story is. And I found in Oppenheimer's story a lot of different tensions, a lot of different elements of darkness and light in conflict. And that to me seemed very, very involving and something that an audience could really get a meaningful experience from.
断罪するわけでもなくて、非常にフラットに撮られてる、公平に撮られてる感じがしてすごく良かったですね。ものすごい誰かを悪い人間と決めつけるわけでもなく、素晴らしい人でもというふうに決めつけるわけでもなく、その両方が混然一体となった人物としてオッペンハイマーという人が浮かび上がってくるっていうのが本当に素晴らしかったなというふうに思います。
Well, thank you. I mean, my interest in telling his story, and Cillian Murphy, who plays Oppenheimer, and we talked a lot about this approach. We wanted to bring the audience to a place of understanding rather than judgment. We wanted people, yes, to, as you say, just experience both sides of this individual and then make up their own minds about the choices he made or what any of us would have done in his position. And certainly, I hope that the film doesn't ever really take a position on that. Oppenheimer's choices were his own. We try to allow the movie-going public to experience that and understand that, even if they would have done something very different themselves. And I think that's one of the interesting qualities that cinema has, that it can allow you to live in somebody else's experience, even if it's completely different from your own.
すごい思ったのが、日本側からこれの返答の映画を作んなきゃいけないような気がすごくしました。なんかいつか実現させたいなと思ってますけど。
I can't think of a better director to make a response than director Yamazaki. So I think it's a perfect suggestion, and I'm always interested to see what you will be doing in the future.
ありがとうございます。
I think for me, what I'm always interested in doing with a movie is involving the audience in a sensory way. And so for a lot of my films, for many years now, I've chosen to shoot IMAX film, IMAX 70mm film, which has incredible sharpness and incredible color reproduction. And so projected onto a very large screen, it's a really wonderful way of having the screen disappear and letting the audience into the material and into the scene. And so in combination with all of the different possibilities that the sound system gives you and the different sound effects and music and everything, all of these things together, I think, can really involve the audience in a story. And that's an aspect of filmmaking that I've always valued very highly and continue to value. And so I think with Oppenheimer, even though a lot of the film is about people in rooms talking, scientists talking, I felt very strongly that if we could really create an immersive cinematic experience, the audience would be more and more involved in the tension of that story.
すごい伝わってきました、それは。IMAX じゃなきゃ見れない映画だったなと思いました。本当に IMAX ならではの作品だなと思いました。
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very nice to see you again.
やっぱなんかものすごい刺激になりますよね。本当に世界のトップを走ってる監督の作品についての話ができるっていう時間、短い時間ですけど、でもめちゃめちゃ刺激になりますし、その対極的な状況の中での人間を描きたいんだなっていうことを改めて確認したし、やっぱりそこがもう本当にパーフェクトに近いスペクタクルを描きながら一番描きたいのはそこじゃないんだっていうのが改めてよく分かったんで、やっぱりそこにこそ映画の醍醐味があるんだなっていうのを改めて感じましたね。はい。